Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anne-Marie Imafidon, and yes, I do run Stemettes. I want to speak this afternoon in my 20 minutes about what it means to lean in on behalf of the next generation. Now, how many of you have heard of leaning in before? Okay, how many of you have read the book? Okay, for those of you that haven't, it's a book that was written by a lady called Sheryl Sandberg. If you haven't heard of her, you might have heard of a company called Facebook. Some of you. She's a COO at Facebook, and she wrote her kind of blueprint for how she was able to make it as a woman in the tech industry and how she lent in. It was quite controversial, still is, some of the things that she suggested. I'm not Sheryl Sandberg, so this is like the Anne-Marie / poor man's version of what it might mean, but also on what it means for us to lean in on behalf of the next generation. So she was talking about being a woman, how you lean in on your behalf for your own career, and I want to encourage all of us to lean in on behalf of the next generation. So yes, I'm not Sheryl Sandberg. This is the obligatory baby photo of me on the left, when wearing my hair in a pineapple was the thing. I passed an A-level, as Herb mentioned, in computing, aged 11, and I'm still looking for that girl that's done it since, and graduated from Oxford with a master's in maths and computer science at 20. Now, for me, when I did that, I then went into industry, have always really loved technology and always loved solving problems, and that was why all of that happened. That was my thing as a kid. I loved building things, creating, taking them apart, and I loved the creativity of technology. And so it wasn't until I'd finished my degree, started working in industry, and ended up actually in the States speaking at a conference that this reality hit me. So these numbers are from 2013 even. 13% of the UK STEM workforce were female in 2012 when they totted it up. I then realised that I was one of only 3 girls on my course of 70 studying maths and computer science. And also there was this big stat as well that came out that 2 out of 3 female STEM graduates didn't enter STEM roles. The Deloitte pay gap report has kind of updated this number. But this was the reality that I was looking at. And for me, it's funny, and you might find this funny as well, that I was so smart, so clever, passed all those exams and passed all those grades and whatever, but it never hit me that I was the only girl in those scenarios. I was really perceptive on the maths problems, but not on the reality of it all. And so this is a big problem. This was a problem for me personally. I don't have any children. When I do have them, I don't want them to feel like their mum's a weirdo because she works in technology. If I have any daughters, I don't want them. They're going to be 50% me, so there's maybe 50% chance that they go into technology like I have. I don't want them to feel like they're the odd ones out. And it's a problem on society level, because as we've heard, this is where the careers are, this is what's driving our economy. It's the fastest growing part of at least the UK economy. And there's a big skills gap at the moment, so we don't even have enough people going into this thing that's driving our money. It's also a problem for society because we have a lot of problems, and STEM solves a lot of problems, and historically women are really good at solving those problems. So this is an exercise I like to play. It's kind of dark in here, so I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to play the Guess Who game. Normally I have prizes. I've left them in the green room, and they're also badges, which I think would be slightly dangerous, me throwing badges out into the audience. Right, so the first person on the left, we should all recognise who that is. Ada Lovelace, there we go, first ever programmer. Female, male, or otherwise, about 200 years ago, was a mathematician. She was also a British lady. The second person, do we recognise who that is? She did invent Kevlar. Her name? Oh, no.
She died recently.
She did, sadly. She died a couple of years ago. So her name is Stephanie Kwolek. She was a chemist who discovered Kevlar by mistake. Kevlar is what makes bulletproof vests bulletproof, which is why we've got the image there at the bottom. So it's, again, another woman who's solved problems effectively. You can think of how many lives she's saved by inventing that. Not many people know who she is. You didn't, at least. It's really sad. Third person we have on this slide. Any Spaniards in the room? You're like scared to say you're from Spain now. So this is Angela Ruiz Roble, who was a teacher way back. It's really funny. I show these slides to the girls, and I always try and kind of link solving a problem, and not many of them have seen an encyclopedia before. I think you all appreciate what that is. So she was a teacher, and she felt bad for her students who had to carry books all day. And so what she did was she invented the first ever e-book. So she filed the patent for this back in 1949. And she did that. She solved a problem using technology. The last lady on the end, does anyone recognise who she is? She did invent Tipex. You've kind of deduced that, right?
No, but she was the mother of one of the monkeys.
There you go. So this is Betty Nesmith-Graham, who, if anyone remembers the monkeys, she gave birth to one of them. But she was also the inventor of liquid paper, which here in the UK we know as Tipp-Ex. Again, when I show this, I show the girls a picture of a typewriter and Tipp-Ex and ask them to give me the connection. Really funny. So women are fantastic at solving problems and have been, and there are countless examples. These are just 4 of women who are now all sadly dead, but examples of women who in history have solved problems using their STEM knowledge, STEM being science, technology, engineering and maths. I also give examples, or also have loads of examples of where women have been part of the solution, even if they haven't been the ones solving that. 2 examples on this slide. On the left, that is me stood next to someone. Does anyone recognise who I'm stood next to? No. Okay. Most of you will have heard of a company called Apple before. Some of you may have held an iPhone or an iPad. When you long press the home button, you get Siri, right? So that's my mate John, the voice of Siri. Up until version maybe iOS 8, in which case then they replaced him with someone else. He's fine, he's a voice artist, so don't worry about John. The technology behind voice recognition, those of you that are technical, as we are in this room, will know that we've had it for years. We've had it for ages. We had Ye Olde Siri. You used to kind of talk to Ye Olde Siri, hey, can you give me directions to Northern Stage? Northern Stage it is called, isn't it? And it'd say, did you mean ice cream? And you'd say, no, that's definitely not what I said. It was a bit rubbish initially. And even, who here is Scottish? Yeah, apparently Siri still doesn't work for you, even today, 2016. And the problem with that, or the reason why, is because the software and the teams that have worked on it haven't actually, or didn't originally use a diverse set of voices or train it on those diverse set of voices. So if you think back to the typewriters, where it was mostly women that were doing the typing, when they then, spoke and said Northern Sage and got ice cream back, that wasn't really going to help them. And so we've been able to have that evolution now where we can talk to Siri or talk to John, and you all feel like you have a bit of a relationship with John. The second example I like to show the girls as well is seatbelts and airbags that we have on the right-hand side of the stage. So I won't do this again, or I won't do this today, sorry, because there are no girls here. But if you can imagine, it's kind of maybe the average man, maybe Herb, to stand here, and what we all imagine of Herb's 11-year-old daughter. Yeah, that's fair, to stand here. So this is Herb's daughter. What's her name? Alice. This is Alice, this is Herb. We all kind of imagining Alice and Herb, right? Okay, so without being rude to Herb, are we imagining that Herb is taller or shorter than Alice? Taller, right? On average, Herb would be taller than Alice. You're taller than Alice. I am. You are, right, fantastic. Phew. Right, without being rude, can we imagine, is Herb heavier or lighter than Alice? Sorry, Herb. I should have said you should cover your ears. So the average man is taller and heavier than the average girl. Unfortunately, the initial engineers that built these products, that built the seatbelt and built the airbag, didn't quite take that into consideration. And so the first seatbelts and airbags killed women and children, which was not the point of that product, right? So it's quite important that we have these girls and these women in technology, in science, in engineering, or in maths, and imagining that it's something that they can do. That hasn't happened, which is why we have those problems and we had those stats back in 2013. And there are 2 big reasons, or 2 of the biggest reasons why that hasn't happened. One is retention and promotion. So this, does anyone remember this? In fact, I sat next to someone from the ESA. You might remember this, sorry. One problem is that of retention and of the culture and of how a diverse set of people feel working in these fields. So this example is of, so the Rosetta went up about a year ago or so. It's come back down again, or it blew up. Something happened. Anyway, either way, this was the guy that appeared on BBC News. He's the mission scientist. He was the mission scientist that was chosen to speak to the press, speak to the world about this fantastic new mission that they were doing. So this was his big day. And he chose to wear this jacket, which if you can't see it's a shirt, right? It's a piece of clothing. that has nearly naked women on it, which is interesting because you're there to send a message, you're there to kind of do something, and it hasn't even registered. And he got live on television, and this kind of trended and almost overshadowed the Rosetta News, right? None of us even remember what the name of the mission was because we remember the guy with the shirt. So there is a problem about bystanders, and there is a big role that men have to play and that everyone actually has to play around the culture that we have already in industry. So part one is the retention and promotion of women in the field. Part two, though, is our perception and our social norms and what we see at whatever age we are, whether we're the girl or her brother or her father or her teacher or her aunt or her whoever. And it's our perception and our understanding of what it is to be a big Stemette or someone in industry, right? So who here sees an engineer? Who sees a princess? You're all worried now whether it's the right answer or not. So there is a problem about perception. And so this is the problem that I've decided to tackle, or we started working on with Stemettes. So with Stemettes, we've worked with about 13,000 girls now in just under 4 years across the UK, Ireland and parts of Europe. And we run events and experiences all over the country where we're able to try and change that social norm for the girls, at least temporarily, to help them boost their confidence or to help them explore what options they have within STEM. So we get them to meet role models like some of the women that we've heard already. Everything is free for the girls. There's always food for the girls, and it's always fun. And those are our three mantras. If it's not a free event with food, it's not a Stemettes experience. And that's just as important as it is to have the role models, have the sponsorship, have industry, so these things happen where industry is happening. So that's what we've done, that's what we do. And the interesting thing, or what I want to share with yourselves about leaning in on behalf of these girls and your part to play in it, is a couple of the messages that we give to them. So I normally give the girls, if I have to speak, and the impact on speaking to them is nowhere near the impact that we have when we run workshops and have different experiences with them. But if I do have to speak to them, here's what I say. So I give them 5 reasons why a job in tech is for them or why they might want to consider it. Are we ready for 5 reasons? Reason 1, tech is incredibly altruistic, i.e. you're able to help people. This is something that we don't talk about enough when we talk about what you can do in your career within tech, within science, within engineering, within maths. 2 examples I normally talk to them about. This is one, and I use this one in particular because it involves SMSs or texts. None of you have laughed. Girls don't send texts, they Snapchat people and they WhatsApp. If they do text, it's because they're texting you, maybe. So this is a system that was built on SMSs in rural India, where they, any economists in the room? No? Okay, they're all technologists, I guess, is the name of the day. So what they did was they helped these Indian farmers, and if you're an Indian farmer on this piece of land and you're an Indian farmer here, and you're both selling rice, you might be selling it at 30p, you might be selling it at £3, and I'm coming in buying rice, and I'm going to take advantage of that market. And it probably costs you a little bit more than 30p to make that rice, does it? Yeah, put you on the spot there, don't worry. Yeah. So what they've done is they set up this system that allows them to communicate, and effectively they're able to have a more transparent market where they can see how much the rice is supposed to be across the different places, which is fantastic because the farmers make more money. Yay, you know, more money for the farmers. The knock-on effect of that, though, is that the literacy of the children, in particular the girls in those villages, then increased. Which is funny that the humble text can have that kind of impact in that kind of place, in that kind of space. The second example I give, and I can never remember which way around it is, but there are 4 girls at a maker fair in Nigeria who managed to turn 6 litres of urine into an hour of electricity, or 1 litre of urine into 6 hours of electricity. Either way, that's incredible, right? And it's fantastic, and you can imagine, I don't even need to tell you the knock-on effects that could be if you could use urine as a power source. So that's reason number 1, and the order of this is quite important. Reason number 2, now we can talk about money. So money isn't a driver for everybody, and for a lot of girls, they're not all the same, so I can't say all girls, but for a lot of girls, money isn't the first thing. However, it is a consideration. So the 2 stats on this, and again, the Deloitte report has helped to publicise quite a lot of this recently, but the gender pay gap is virtually non-existent in your first 2 to 3 years within a tech role or STEM-related role, and it's a lot smaller than in other fields. But also, if you're a woman working in a STEM field versus a woman working in a non-STEM-related field, you earn up to 30% more. okay, which is great. It means for you as a parent, they can pay for you in your old age. For you as an aunt, they can buy you nice stuff in your old age. Whatever else it is. For the girls, it means that they can buy more food or buy more things, even if they don't like shopping. And everyone likes food. We'll come back to this later. The third reason is swag. Now, who here has heard of the Grace Hopper celebration of women in computing? Okay, have any of you been? No? Okay, so you can't verify this. So the Grace Hopper celebration of women in computing was the conference I went to that opened my eyes to the fact that I was a woman in tech. There were 15, we went this year, we took 5 girls, there were 15,000 women in tech at one conference at the same time. It was insane. The other thing that's insane at this conference, as there are at most other tech conferences, and again, try not to put too much pressure on you, Herb, with this one, is the swag is incredible. So this is day 1 in 2014 of what we got when we turned up at Grace Hopper. We took 5 girls 2 years ago. This was day 1 of the swag, right? We've got a couple of bags, blah, 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 sunglasses, da-da-da-da. This is day 3 of swag. I'm going to use my laser pointer here because I can. These are Google socks. Has anyone ever seen those? I'm running a black market now on Google socks. And these are, can anyone guess what these two are? Shampoo and shower gel, right? So P&G are one of the companies that turned up in 2014. There were 12,000 women there that year, and everyone got shampoo and shower gel, which is crazy because it's P&G. What have they got to do with technology? The answer is obvious for you, but for the girls, it isn't necessarily as obvious that this is everywhere. Technology is permeating everything they do. An update on this. So we went last week. So this was day 1 of swag, and then this was day 3 of swag. We kind of played the system a little bit more. I took a couple more members of the team with me. They got a free trip to Houston. I got maybe 10 kilos more of allowance. So this was all the stuff that we brought back. More sunglasses than I think we know what to do with because we live in England. But hey-ho. Okay, so that was reason number 3 was the swag. Reason number 4, I said I'd come back to it. What tastes better than food? Free food, there we go. So this is Bloomberg in London. Has anyone been to this building? Can verify this is real? Okay, it's a floor maybe twice the size of this auditorium of just food. All day, every day, it's free food. What else is there for me to say, really? This is from the promotional video for Bloomberg. So that's why they've only got fruit and healthy food there. Those of you that have been there will know we've got chocolates, we've got nuts, we've got olives in packets, fizzy drinks, coffee, tea. We've run events before at Bloomberg. And the girls are always asking me, Anne-Marie, when are we going back to Bloomberg? Because they've discovered like their favourite chocolate and they've not been able to buy it in the shops anywhere. So they're coming back. Last summer as well, we did a big entrepreneurship programme. We took 45 girls to Bloomberg for the morning. They gave them goodie bags and they kind of cleared the shelves into the bags. And then someone, Julie, just came out with a trolley and just reloaded it back up. And it was fantastic. So free food. There is a disclaimer on this, obviously. Some of you work in technology, you know you don't get free food at work. Right? Oh, does everyone here get free food at work? No, okay, cool. Yeah, so some of you don't get free food at work. Hopefully, by the time the girls have graduated or are ready to start working, your company will have caught up. Maybe. Okay, reason number 5 that I'm going to speak about just as I'm coming to my close is that you can wear pretty much anything you want if you work in tech, unless you're in the army. And there's always exceptions to the rule, right? This is me taking selfies before it was caught at my desk at Deutsche on the 19th floor in Liverpool Street. Pretty much wear what you want. I had a cold. I was recovering from a cold there in the middle. You see, I've kind of fully come out of it, but I'm still cold there. Looking for my sunglasses there, and I thought sun in your eyes is a good look there as well. And you can wear pretty much what you want. So it's a fantastic place to be. Those are just 5 reasons. And to come back to what I spoke about in terms of culture, and I will hopefully be able to end on this, and what leaning in means, I think there is still an opportunity. We have role models of both genders helping out with what we're doing. I think there still is an opportunity for us to work on our culture and make sure that we don't have bystanders. I am slightly worried about the proliferation of mentoring programs, shall we say, for women in industry. So I don't know how many of you are part of these or setting these up. As a note, because I know you're a slightly more adult audience and some of you are students as well, setting up a mentoring program alone does not solve the problem. And actually, if you look at the research around mentoring and mentors and what women look for in mentors, there's quite a big difference between a mentor and a sponsor and how both of those work. So the only example given time that I can give of kind of what a sponsor is has anyone ever seen Toddlers and Tiaras? The show. You don't have to admit it, don't worry. It's kind of trash TV. It's based on, or it's all about beauty pageants in the States. And there's one particular girl called Eden, who's 3 years old when she starts these pageants, but wins all these pageants. I don't have an image of her, I think, in this slide deck, but you see her at 3 with fake lashes, fake tan, hair extensions, the whole shebang at 3, kind of walking up and down as you're supposed to do in pageants. You can tell I've done pageants before. And she has a great sponsor who has told her exactly what to do, where to be, how to look, and how to play the game, as it were. And so having a mentor that it gives you advice and talks through things with you is fantastic. But the magic is where you've got someone advocating for you when you're not in the room and kind of showing you how things are working. So it's quite important that we make sure we've got the mentors as well as the sponsors. But there are quite a few different options that you have for engaging men, at least in this conversation. I'm kind of hoping that someone will maybe ask a question about this since I'm out of time. Hint, hint. Cool. So to go back to this, I want to say that it's quite important that we are able to skill up women and to skill up girls in doing this. And Herb spoke a little bit about choosing STEM education and choosing the STEM options. I think the most important thing that we need to remember when we are leaning in for girls and for the next generation is that it's about showing them that there are a lot of options for them, and it's about keeping those options open. Technology is constantly changing, so by the time they get there, your role might not exist, your role might not exist, who knows, in the next 100 years your role might not exist. But it's about allowing them to have those options open. But also, I always close on the fact that this is 2016, so actually they don't have a choice. No one's going to put a typewriter down in front of them on their first day of work. Everyone's assuming that they're digital natives, so they know all this stuff already. So it's more about them getting with the programme as early as possible and being able to contribute to what life is like 2016 and beyond. Thank you.